We should be back in though.
Let me know if we're back in, Bodie. Somebody confirm, either Omar or somebody.
Yeah, no, I'm scrambling on my end too.
I have a feeling it's because I played 1K tone. I bet we got dinged.
Probably because I just
For 1K?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
You're back in though. Sorry
Okay.
guys, we are back. I believe Ed is right. I think we did get dinged for that 1K because right after he started playing the audio is when the feed ended.
Got it.
It ended at 127.10 in case you want a reference point.
Yep.
Great.
Someone owns the copyright on 1K?
All they had to do was say they had the copyright of a show, and it had that in it, and now
Right.
dings everyone who plays.
I wish we had the publishing rights for 1K tone.
The first tone I played was only 400 hertz, so that we didn't get dinged for the Q-Box tone. But now anybody else who ever plays Q-Box tone is going to get dinged on Facebook forever.
We just got the copyright.
It's all your fault, Ed.
Yeah.
Hey, Ed, I wanted to piggyback on something that y'all said, and also to Nate's point too about, like, you know, when you're out there doing a show, how do you get your levels right? And you know, you went a long way towards that. That was great. And one thing I just wanted to say is that what I do is, well, there's two things. One is one of the, I don't want to call it a rookie mistake, but one thing that rookies in sound need to pay attention to is that the bigger audience is almost always online. And so put on headphones, you know, you need to take them off because if you have a PA system in front of you, but, you know, pay attention to that because that's the bigger audience. That's one. Two is that when setting up, gain structure is super important, and I'll kind of get that laid out. And then I will play some music that I'm very familiar with, not to EQ the system. I play the music to get a target volume in the room. That's the only purpose of that. And because what happens is, and I did this early in my career, I didn't do that, and then I didn't know where to land. I didn't know how loud to be. It would just sort of be nebulous. And when I do that now, and there's a target volume, and I kind of remember that volume, that's great. And then if the producer comes to me and goes, hey, you know, can you bring it up a little bit? I'll know where I'm at. I have a reference level. The big advantage to that of playing that target volume music is that when you are EQing mics and you're trying to ring out the room and do all that good stuff, is that you know you have to get that microphone to be about that loud. And so that's another thing that happens is that with people who are new to audio, they'll like ring out the room. Maybe they're new to ringing out the room. They'll get that kind of right, but the level of that will be low in comparison to the rest of like playing back music, for example, or a video or whatever. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Great. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I do a lot of live events. Well, sorry, pre-pandemic, I did a lot of live events that were also being webcast. And I'm hyper aware that the webcast audience is often magnitudes larger than the audience that's in the room. So I absolutely, I have a workflow that focuses on that, because the room audio, I can make adjustments on the fly very easily because I hear it, I'm there, I'm experiencing it. I tend to focus more in my setting up, getting the broadcast mixes right, and those sorts of things. Dave, you got something?
Yeah, I tend to, when I'm mixing for both, I'll tend to feed my master left and right to the records, and then I'll take another mix, on a QL, it would be a mix out, and feed my PA with that. That way, all my individual faders are feeding the room, and I'm mixing that and hearing that and bringing that up to level in my ear, and what I'm hearing. But then the meters are what I'm feeding to records. And so I'm watching those. And if I need to give a little more to records, I can just push the masters up or down and see that change on the meters, but it doesn't affect the room. All my individual faders are affecting the room.
Yeah, I was just going to say that too, because the room actually becomes your monitor speakers at that point.
Yeah.
Because that will track your records too, and your stream and all of that. If you get louder on a microphone on the channel, it's going to get louder everywhere. So yeah.
I do so many records where I go to the audio guy and go, I need more. but his master is the same as the PA feed. And so he goes, well, I can't push it any louder in the room. Those need to be on separate faders where I can just get a little more or get a little less, to records.
Absolutely. I tend to use matrices a lot. So I'll put my PA on the matrices fed from my stereo bus. But then my records, I'll typically use post fader aux sends. I know we're getting pretty, we're getting into advanced routing stuff, but I think it's a good topic to talk about for a second. So I do a lot of post fader sends, especially on like a corporate job. And because of how I set my gain structure, I can typically have my faders living at unity. So that's, where my mix kind of lives out to my post fader auxes and to the PA. But if I have to bump somebody up, I can just bump the aux up a little bit. If I have to bump to the records, it gives me that separation. I can mix things separately. But in the room, like if I'm bringing up the CEO because it's a post fader aux, now he's up in the records and in the room. And if I bring him down so he doesn't have a hot mic moment, he's gone from it too. I can mute. I'm not a huge fan of DCAs on corporate gigs. I see so many people who kind of get themselves into trouble with that. I use more groups when I do things. The way I really do, so I'll have all of my faders kind of at unity. I'll have my post fader aux going to a mix bus. And in the room, I ride the mix fader for my volume in the room instead of touching the channel fader. So offline, I'll talk to you guys about this because I don't want to sidetrack too far from the basic stuff. But it works for me. And
quick, let me jump in here, guys. We're about 30 minutes from close. So if you have any questions that haven't been answered or that have come in before, please, then we haven't gotten to them, please send them again so that way we can get them into Ed so that we can get them answered.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about in tonight's talk was, we got through a lot of good stuff. We didn't get as far as I wanted to, but I did kind of say that we would talk about the ATEM Mini Pro and getting audio into that. So one of the things that you have to understand about, so I'm going to jump to that. I'm going to kind of skip a lot of stuff. We're going to do a part 2. We're going to definitely do a part 2 of audio. There's just so much to cover. And Andy and Dave have been, did I lose the other Andrew? Oh, there he is. Sorry. Andrew, Andy, and Dave have been great at assisting on this and brought up a ton of great points. That's why I bring in people who know more than me to talk about everything. So thank you guys. But I do want to get into the specifics of the ATEM Mini Pro because I think that that's been something that a lot of I've seen on the Blackmagic forums. People are having problems with getting audio into it. I'm seeing on tons of places, streaming forums. Everyone seems perplexed by the audio into the ATEM Mini Pro. And with good reason. So we kind of talked about voltage a little bit. And sadly, the spec that Blackmagic gives for this is maximum input voltage maximum input plus 6 dBV. So looking at Andy and Dave's faces, what does that mean? And they don't know because it's like an unused specification that gives us nothing for what kind of level can I throw into that. So one of the things I'll show you guys real quick.
I only guess 2 dB above +4. I mean, it's
no. It's
so
4,
I was wrong.
It's actually 4 dB above +4. Sorry. So let's switch to this. So, and this is that link I sent you, Omar, if you want to pop this in the chat. So, this is a cool, conversion calculator thing that I found. So it'll give you so if I put in +6 on here and calculate, you can see it gives you 8 dBu. Sorry, I made a huge pointer here. So if you can't read that, that says 8 dBu, 8.21, whatever. So it's just barely above line level is the max that it can take in. So if you're sending it a line level input, it's not balanced. So it's stereo unbalanced, which makes it even more complicated. It's not a really good spec. They could have made this a lot easier. It's on an 1/8 inch. So like this is that nominal voltage. So nominal for, as we said, for a +4 dBu would be that 1.22 rounded up to 228 volts, which would be 1.78 dBV. So if I wanted to do, +4 dBu, right? That's what I just did. -10 dBV is consumer line level. So that's -7 dBu. So if +4 dBu is our nominal voltage, nominal level, and then we subtract another 7 from that, we're looking at -11.78. So about -12 dB. So if you were going to send from a mixing board out to an ATEM Mini, you want to be at least starting at at -12 on your meter in order to be sending a level that will be the nominal level that it wants coming in, basically. So that's probably confusing. I'm going to show you guys what I mean. So what am I looking at right now? I have to go to that other share mode. Just give me one sec. Actually, I think I can. Yeah, let me do this. Okay, so what are we looking at now?
We have web page and big and small, and they're both changing together.
Oh, really?
Now it just went to the QL.
Because I have you need
On
your
both.
camera up big.
On both. Interesting. Oh, that's because I didn't change that back to my. There we go. So now you should have me as the little insets.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, so many fun things. My setup is very DIY too, so it's a lot of things kludged together, sadly, at the moment. But hey, cool. So I am sending right now. Right now, you're hearing me through my Dante virtual sound card. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch my audio in Zoom so that we hear the black magic. Where's my, there we go. So do you guys still hear me, I think?
Very, very low.
It's way lower.
It's way lower,
You
but
dropped a lot.
actually, you know what?
You're way
Really
lower.
can't
It
hear it
sounds
all.
like you may be on a off mic on a different mic.
Right. My lav through the ATEM, and I'm sharing the ATEM software. So what I've done is I've set my console to come in right here on mic input 2, line level, and I'm using, let me see if I can do this. I'm using this guy. Sorry, I gotta switch my camera again. I am using what is a thing made by Art called the CleanBox Pro. So I'm coming out of my console into that, which spits out a unbalanced 1/4 inch cable, which, sorry, I don't want to make everybody sick with the spinning, but we can see the 1/4 inch cable coming from the CleanBox into mic 2. So that's what I'm using to make that conversion. The CleanBox, what that's doing is, changing balanced line level to consumer unbalanced line level. And I can go back to, sorry, when you're screen sharing two different things, it's.
So looking at the ATEM control software, it looks like mic 1 is mono, but mic 2 is stereo.
Yes.
Or it's got 2 inputs.
Well, no. So what I did is I went into, when you go into your audio setting here, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. so you can split audio. So I split the line level input so that it is, because it's a stereo input, so that I can see it as left and right. And then it's also, it is set to line level. Microphone input 1 is set to microphone level. Do you guys see my mouse? I didn't.
Yes.
Okay,
You're
good.
correct.
Just wanted to make sure. So what I did is I sent that and I panned it, and I did that so that I could see if there was any discrepancy between my right and left. And there is a slight discrepancy, as I can see here, which I can make up for on the console side if I didn't. I already linked those faders. But what I would do is I would change, I would unlink those faders and make an adjustment here, or if it's small enough, I can change it there. Hey. So I'm like a half a dB. So if I want to go, sorry, minus. There we go. Hey. So now, no, I made it worse. I went the wrong way.
I'm curious, if you mute one of those, will I lose it in one ear?
No, because Zoom only does
Mono.
So no, you won't. But if it was, you would lose it. Hey. Okay. What am I doing here?
Stereo is coming to Zoom soon, though. So.
Well, there's certain ways you can get it, but I went 5. I meant to go 0.5. That's why. Okay, so now I should be closer. No, I'm not. No, now I'm -5. Why am I not getting? I have to do 0.5. That's why. The fun things. Hey, 1, 2, and that's. Oh, I didn't reset this one. Okay, so now. No, they're even worse. I don't know what happened here. Why? I had it yesterday, but whatever. So I have a little discrepancy here. I would be able to adjust the. Oh, now it's a 0.5 dB discrepancy. Big deal. I don't care. But I'm getting clean audio in using that box. So one of the things I tested, though, is I have also, just coming straight out of my console, I have another, you guys can see, you see my ATEM, this is coming out of my console. So you're going to lose me for 1 second. I'm actually going to mute so you don't get a pop.
Really quick while he's doing that, I just want to say we have 15 minutes left, so any questions you have, go ahead and get them in so we can get them answered as quickly as possible for you.
Nope, not good.
That sounds like bacon.
We're not hearing you, Ed. We're hearing thumping and bacon.
Scientific audio term.
I apologize for the bacon there. Sorry. Yeah, that cable has been a little squirrely, so I'm going to move on from it. What I did find interesting was that I got different levels going straight from the console than I did going through that clean box. Justin and I were talking about it yesterday, and one possibility could be the difference in impedance, which is resistance. The console is outputs about 75 ohm, where the clean box outputs 300 ohm. So they had the same voltage going out, but got different levels. So, but I highly recommend this clean box. It works pretty well. The one thing to be careful of, it does have a, sorry, I'm gonna spin. It does have a pot on it, so, which is a potentiometer. So it has a control for changing your level. So I had gone through and I calibrated, which is why sadly it's not, the other one's not working. But the one thing to be wary about is you can add too much gain and then be in the same spot and be overloading the input, because that's the biggest thing people are doing with these ATEMs is they're overloading the inputs by sending too much signal to it. So like we showed in that chart on that page before, the voltage is like super low for what it can take. It can take a max volt Oh, sorry. I'm not going to pull the chart back up. Oh, actually, I guess I can.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, but you mentioned that this is sending too much, or most consumers are sending too much power to this. And I've been hearing that a lot of consumers are complaining to Blackmagic about an overheating problem with the ATEM Mini. Could this be the problem? That they're
No,
sending too much power to the device?
no, it's not from it's not overheating from the audio. These things get very hot. When I'll show you when I pan back to it. I'll show you guys. I have a buddy of mine 3D printed. I don't know, I taped it to the table, didn't I? A buddy of mine had 3D. Whoa. Did that just freeze weird? Okay, I'll just do cuts. So a buddy of mine 3D printed a stand for it that allows it to get off the desk. So it's got some clearance under here. There's actually enough clearance that if I had a second ATEM Mini, I could put it in front and be able to plug in the HDMIs. But that gets it up so that it gets better cooling. I think a lot of people just end up putting them right on the table, and the cooling, it just doesn't have enough circulation. This thing does get pretty darn hot though.
2 questions.
Yeah.
One is, are the levels that this is feeding into Zoom, have you adjusted the Zoom level itself? Because you are low compared to where you were before you switched to the ATEM Mini. That's one question.
No, I haven't. You know what? I forgot. It always turns. It turns off my original sound. Zoom has that thing with original sound. So then Zoom does some level controlling stuff. But I can, if I come up in the ATEM software now, it should be a little louder for you guys. Is that right?
That sounds a little closer to where you were. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, much better.
Okay,
Right.
that's one. Oh yeah, 2 is can you, instead of using the mini jacks, well, I'm not familiar with the ATEM Mini so much, but instead of using the mini jacks for your audio source, can you pick audio off of one of the HDMI inputs? Can you
Absolutely. So that's what these 4 right here are. And if you see, you'll see these meters are bouncing. These are the internal microphones of my cameras. So here, I'll let you.
So I guess the question would be like, if you had a video source you were feeding into the ATEM Mini.
Yes.
And
yeah, so you can hear me talking, but it probably sounds like garbage. That's one of the camera microphones that you're hearing me on right now.
Yeah, you just went to the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I was gonna. So just for my own clarification, I'm sure this is going to come up. I'm sure we're going to do events where someone shows up with an ATEM Mini and they're like, "Hey, it's not loud," whatever, you know. So you're doing us a favor here. But so my question is that if they have a source that does not have audio on it, a video source that doesn't have audio on it, and there's a signal chain that uses that audio source on the ATEM Mini, so that's always hot. If they're always going to get our audio, that HDMI audio input is always selected. I guess the question is, can the ATEM Mini do I guess it's the equivalent of a breakaway, an audio video breakaway, where its audio is always hot on that input, even though you may not be using the associated video?
Yes. Yeah. So by default, like right now we're using my external audio input. So we're using that mic 2 input.
Yep.
Which and it doesn't matter what I switch to. I can cut, and you're still hearing my audio. So
right.
If I did the same thing, sorry, you guys are gonna.
So if I'm here, I can be switching to any of my sources, and you're still hearing my audio the same. Now, if I turn on...
Yeah, you went away.
Sorry. Right. So now it's on auto follow. So if I switch from 4 to 3, when I hit cut, you had lost my audio there, even though you saw it on the meter, because it's on auto follow video. So you have the option for, you can turn it on. It's off by default. So it would be the live audio all the time by default. So let me
take you guys out of the beach. Cool.
So that sounds like I should get a box that I can. It would be an H. I got to think about this for a second. So if I'm going to feed it, it has to be audio in, analog audio in.
Right, you would want it like some kind of audio embedder that has an HDMI output.
Yeah, that's HDMI, not SDI. Although
now the only downside to that would be I can do some delay on the external inputs. You're going to add some delay through that embedder.
Right.
So you're gonna have no way to correct it. Now you're not seeing me on video, so you're not seeing what my lip sync is like. I didn't put any delay on right now. I could, but there's nothing to compare it to since that camera is not the one looking at me. Although I guess you would see. I should do it twice because. So now I should be way out of sync. I should be behind the audio should be behind at this point. Yeah. So that's because I'm talking to my FaceTime camera, but you're hearing me through the Blackmagic. But one other thing I want to point out before we get too far, because we are almost at the hour, is that I have a microphone that is plugged in. Oh no, let me zoom out. Using that adapter I showed earlier. So that little guy plugged into an extension, plugged into another Beta 58 that I've labeled ATEM Mic 1. So I have that here. I'm going to turn off. And now I'm talking to you through a microphone through the ATEM Mini. So it will take, and that's why I specifically got these adapters that are wired, pin 2 to tip, pin 3 to ring, and pin 1 to shield, to sleeve, so that I could test this out and make sure this works. And I haven't actually heard the other end yesterday in my testing with Omar. We had a few things going on, but he said this sounded pretty good for no processing. And then, within the ATEM, I have the ability to do some EQ. I'm hoping you guys can see that. So I can do some low. I can bring up the mid if I want. I'm not hearing any of these changes because I'm hearing my stuff before the ATEM. So I'm sure that sounded fun. The other thing you can do is there is some dynamics, so you can squash it. Compressor, I can take the threshold way down and bring the ratio way up, and then it's doing a ton of reduction, and then I'll bring up some makeup gain to make up for that reduction. Hey, yeah. So it still looks like it's squashing it a lot compared to what's coming in. And I can bypass that again. So you have some options to do that with just a microphone coming in. So if you're just sitting at home and talking for a live stream, this is a perfectly viable option. Or if you have, a headset mic, I know on office hours, a lot of the guys really like those piles because they're cheap, and they seem to be working for people. Then you could do that.
Now, does that input provide phantom power for condenser mics?
It does not. Well, sorry. Stand by. Let's check. Let's see. I'm just going to go to my log. Minute. I don't believe it does. I don't see how it could. But hey. Ah, look. Wait, now let's. Oh yeah, it looks like it does. Let's see. There you go. So if you guys are hearing me, give me a thumbs up. Excellent. So it will work for a condenser mic, so you can get a little bit better or a different sound if you want, if that's what you're going for. So cool.
That's impressive.
Something we all just learned. I'm sure it's not a full 48 volt, but hey, it's enough to power this Beta 87C. So I know we are at time. I'm glad that we got through the ATEM part. I would love to open it up. I'm going to switch back out of listening through the ATEM, though. I'm going to go back to my Dante virtual sound card. So now you should be hearing me back to the level I was at before. I'm going to stop my share. Great. So are there any last things that we need to address? I'd love to get any Facebook stuff if there's anything left. Omar, if there's one or two, and then
Yeah, so there's one by Will Austin. He's asking, what is a good interface for going into USB Mac to Focusrite or a dedicated USB mic? What about small USB mixer as an option? What is your recommendation?
So there's a ton of options. I know that I haven't had a chance to play with or buy one, but the big recommendation on office hours is the Mix Pre 6. People seem to like that, which does a lot of, it does recording all in one. The biggest issue people have with that is it has an 1/8 inch out, 1/8 inch stereo out. So the level has been a mystery to some of the people there too. Which reminds me, I have to get with Victor because we were supposed to do some testing on that. So yeah, that's one of the things I want to work on. Testing, but I've seen other people recommend that very highly, and it's one of the things on my list. I don't know if Dave, I don't think you are using that. Oh, you do have one. So, no, that's is that a Mix Pre? I can't really tell. No, that's a Scarlet.
Yeah, I was going to say there's not much in the
Focusrite.
Scarlet line I don't recommend.
Right, the Scarlets are good. The Scarlets do have software, correct me if I'm wrong, they have a control software that allows you to set it so you can monitor straight through without going through your DAW or your computer, so you can have low latency monitoring.
Yes.
So that's a huge plus.
And they finally caught up with 64 bits, so.
Right.
Yeah, and I've noticed too that the Scarlet stuff is sort of becoming one of the industry standards for this type of Zoom stuff and remote kits and things like that. It's just one of them, but it's become fairly popular.
Right. I've used some of the Scarlet stuff, like in home studio. Guys I know have bands and they're using that to record into Reaper with. But then Focusrite makes, other interfaces with Dante too. So, it depends how crazy you want to go.
Those are expensive.
Yeah. USB mixers. Actually, I think I recommended one to Ori not that long ago because it was going to work for his needs. And I think I recommended one to Nat because they were going for that low budget, only needed a 2-channel type interface with multiple inputs. So if that's the situation you're in, that might be a simple way that gives you a few mic inputs with a little bit of EQ or something to get into it. I know, Will, you have the X32s, which, sorry, I have to give a big thank you to Jim Marlowe at Corporate Audio Visual Services, who lent me the X32 producer that I did the demo on. Will works with Jim, so thank you guys for that. But the X32 with the USB is a totally great interface if you already have it. It gives you a lot of options, even an X32 rack or an X Air or something that you can use as a USB interface is inexpensive to give you a ton of features at a low price point. I'm not the hugest fan of the X32, but I will take the X32 over something like a Soundcraft Impact or lesser consoles at a similar price point. I own a QL1, so I don't have to worry about most of the time using those, but I do a lot of freelance gigs where the X32 or the M32 are what I have to mix on, and I will take those any day over, a PreSonus or, like I said, the Soundcraft or some of the other options. But any of those options will work for you. Was there anything else, Omar?
So there was one more question, but you kind of answered already. It was from Mark Morris. What is your go-to mixing console for live sounds and why? You kind of did that already, though, with your response there. So I think we're good on that one.
Yeah.
What model Scarlet is that you guys are showing there?
Was that the 2i2 that you had, Dave?
Correct. Yeah, I bought it for my mom to do audiobook reading for Amazon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm running a 6i6 here.
Right. Yeah, so it just and the difference is the number of inputs and outputs that you have available. I personally, I like having Dante capability. So, but if you're not set up for Dante, then you don't need that. And it looks like Andy Lipnick's looking at a Scarlet with a, I don't know if we can spotlight him for a second with the,
That's the 2-channel Dante box.
So Andy Lipnick, if you want to spotlight him for a second, Bodie, so people can see that. Yeah, so that gives you a 2-channel Dante interface. There's also, I mean, if you want to get into Dante, you could get an Avio or something too, but then you'd have to have a line level input already. But I purposely didn't talk a lot about Dante because that was outside the scope of what I wanted to cover today. But I am heavily integrated into Dante even at home now at this point. Cool. Was there anything else, Omar?
Nope, that was it. I got nothing else.
You got nothing else. Excellent. What are you showing us? What was that we were looking at there, Omar?
That is the Roadie Roadcaster Pro.
Okay. And how do you like that?
I mean, I love it. I also do a podcast, but this works really well for that. So it's got 4 XLR inputs, a 1/4 inch for microphone, and or for cell phone calls or Bluetooth, so I can do either or. And then I got those pre-channel buses. It's eight little buttons I have pre-programmed with noise and stuff on it. And then on top of that, I have pages I can go into with the software side. So I get an additional, I think it's like 10 pages. So I have like 80 buttons in total, or it could be more than that. But there's a bunch of pages I don't go past 4.
Gotcha. Cool. By show of hands, and Bodie, maybe put us in gallery for a second. Who is talking into a dynamic mic? Nat and Ori, that's a dynamic, right? Yep. And then who's using a condenser mic? Great. And anybody using a USB mic? Okay. And anybody using just a plain set of like earbuds or something?
I am using earbuds.
Okay.
I'm using the cheap Shure ones.
Gotcha. Oh, sorry. I meant like a phone earbud or something. Like yeah, like what Adam's using. Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Just curious. So anybody at home who's heard anybody talk, you've kind of gotten, we had some condenser mics, some dynamic mics. I'm on a Lav. I'm normally on this SM7B, which I love. Dave, actually, I love how that blue sounds. That thing's,
yeah, it's rich.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Is there any questions left on the panel? Because otherwise, I think we're gonna have to plan for part 2 of this at some point.
I'd throw one quick one in if I could, just
sure.
Doing a quick rewind to gain structure, something that I thought was worth mentioning. 2 of the big rules of gain structure when you're setting it up, in any audio stage, your noise floor is constant, your signal's variable. So your signal to noise is a function of how hot your signal is. So to keep your system quiet, more your gain you want earlier in the chain. You know, if you're running your ins just shy of, nominal level, just shy of peaking, and you're going down as you go through your mixes and your masters, you're going to get a quiet desk. The guys that you've seen who show up, and sorry, yeah, I've got company, who show up, set everything at 0, and then turn up the head amp until they hear it, the next comment you get is, boy, your system's noisy. So, yeah, just remember, noise is a constant, and gain is what fixes your signal-to-noise ratio.
And sort of the digital equivalent to that, the digital analog to that, is that if you use more zeros and ones early in the chain, right where it gets converted to digital, you will have more resolution. But you also have to be careful because you don't want to give yourself too much gain where it becomes unmanageable.
Right. Yeah, I am a big proponent of leaving yourself enough headroom, clean headroom, so that you don't have any unexpected peaks. Digital, it's great that the noise floor is so low compared to where some of us were in the analog days. But still, obviously, a concern. I think Leland had his hand up a minute ago.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch base on USB mics. If anyone's considering that, is that there are no mixers to mix USB mics unless they're virtual on a PC or a Mac. So consider your choice ahead of time. You're not going to have a lot of control over a USB mic like what I'm using unless you use a virtual mixer. But don't get confused thinking you're going to be able to take a USB mic and connect it with a mixer and make it happen, because it's an impossibility. They don't exist at this time.
Correct. That's right. That's a good point.
No, and at the end of the day, every mic is analog. It's just the USBs. It's got a cheap converter in the mic as opposed to taking a pro mic and putting it into an interface.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to take a look at getting these cheaper USB mics and then go, okay, now I just need a mixer, and they're going to realize the hard way that you can't buy a mixer for a USB mic.
Right, and that actually back to Will's question about that mentioned a USB mixer. We're talking about a USB out into your computer, not the ability to take a USB mic in and process it. So if that wasn't clear, I'm glad you brought this up, Leland. I can. Correct. I don't know. It does. Oh.
Really? Wow. That's a new one.
Have the Mini. The Mini doesn't have any aux ins. The bigger one has or USB ins. The bigger one does have USB in.
What one's that one called again?
This is just the Go XLR, the original one.
The Go XL? Okay.
Yeah, Go XLR, the original, the bigger one. They just came out with the Mini, but I have the original one.
Gotcha. I'll have to look at what it's doing. I mean, it's still so a USB microphone is still going to be sending ones and zeros into that thing, and it's just allowing you to maybe change some levels, and it's doing it digitally. It would be like the equivalent on my console of using.
It's not recommended, to be honest. It works better with the XLR, obviously, over anything else.
Right.
It's kind of like a USB DI.
That's it.
So it's converting it to analog inside. So it's designed to hook to a computer and show up as a sound audio output.
And that's exactly how it is. So it hooks into the mixer, but it goes through the computer, and it's actually the computer and basically, like you said, DIing the sound to the mixer and congesting it that way. Other than that, it doesn't have any features. Like, I have the ability to voice change with mine, but I can't do that with the USB mic. I can only do that if I have the XLR.
Gotcha. Don't ever do that again.
All right. So we're 12 minutes past the hour. I got one more question I want to give out to this final person here real quick. John Francisco is saying, as far as mixer recommendations, I'm using a mixer at this moment. As new to the live broadcast, I'm using a Mackie Pro FS6 V3. It is recommended to go with an interface Focusrite. He's asking for, or I guess, is that a good option to use? Should he get something else?
I mean,
my recommendation, if you're going into a Focusrite out of a mixer, is these are. I want to get it close to my camera here. These XLRs are combo jacks, so you'll want to buy XLR to TRS, the larger size, and go into the TRS on here. It just plugs right into the middle of the jack, because if you go straight XLR from the mixer into the Focusrite, it thinks it's a microphone, and it adds a preamp thing to it. But if you turn it down, plug it into the tip ring sleeve, it thinks it's line level, and it's so much cleaner.
Right. And then I also, on the TRS, it won't, if it detects that the TRS is plugged in, it won't send phantom, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's another important thing. If anyone's ever used a mini jack to XLR, to dual XLR into a mixer with their phone, and then all of a sudden their phone stopped working, that could have been because somebody applied phantom to those channels and sent voltage into the little headphone jack of your phone, when phones had headphone jacks, and fried it. So yeah, that's a
Mackies are good for that too. You put phantom on the output of a Mackie, it goes quiet on you.
Right.
I've worked with quite a few people with the 2i2s. I have one as well, and they a lot of church broadcast and streaming. And the test is you take your phone and you watch their stream in the portrait position, which is not the way they're showing it in a camera, right? And it sounds one way. You turn the phone to landscape, and the sound almost disappears. And it always lands on an audio interface that has a dual input, but they're not really clearly marked left and right. But if you don't dual feed those or get them split fed into the stream itself, you're only going to put out one channel, and not every platform out there resolves that for you. And so I'd say it's just really important to feed, Dave, you held it up there, to feed both of those inputs so that you have, it doesn't even matter if it's a dual mono output, right? Because we're really not getting into the science of stereo when we're streaming all too often. But just a point.
Right. Yeah. And using a Y cable or something to get that dual mono, but at least making sure it's going in on both sides. Yeah, that's a key thing. I didn't realize, that's a good point. I didn't realize the turning of the phone made a difference because
yeah, it's a dead giveaway what the
I don't turn my phone. 16:9, guys. Not portrait. Go landscape. Another thing that I just happen to have sitting under my table is that you can use as an interface and a recorder is the Zoom. This is an H6. I really like this. I usually have this with a shoe adapter on the back. I took it off recently because I lent it to somebody, and I put it on top of my handy cam, and then I get the stereo XY mic, and then I've got 4 XLR combo jacks, and you can plug this in the USB and it becomes a 6-channel interface. So this is another option. What's really nice about, I know the H5, the H6, I don't know about the H4, but this will do on the main mic, you can set it so that it'll do a second recording that's 18 or 12 dB lower. So if you're using this, and the heads on these are removable. It comes with the XY and it comes with a mid side, but you can get a shotgun one. You can get another one that has 2 more mic pre's with XLR combo jacks on it. But that safety recording at 12 dB lower is like if you're using it with a shotgun and doing an interview kind of thing, and the person coughs or something loud happens, you have that second recording that's 12 dB down that you can edit back in and post if you clipped your pre and you're not totally hosed. So I really like the Zoom products. They have an F8, I think, and they just came out with another H8 series, I think. So there's a whole bunch of things that Zoom make, and it's not the same Zoom that you're watching us on. It's a different company, but called Zoom. So with that, we are 17 minutes over. We have never gone this late. I apologize.
Yeah. Over here, one of the hosts of the show, he does his segment, and he goes late. I'm the only one, mind you, who's done a segment and ended on time.
Well, your segment was early. It was like the first.
Doesn't matter.
And no, Jason's was on time.
Jason's ran 15 minutes.
No,
over.
mine was on time.
No,
on time.
No. We'll go back and watch it because I'm telling you right now, Jason's was a little over. The longest one we had was the VMix one, definitely for sure though. But that's great information. It's all great information, guys.
I don't know.
This is what we do this for. We do this to give you guys all the information. I got to do one thing, and that's for everybody in the chat that keeps telling me to do it. I'm going to freak Ed out really quick. I'm going to use my voice again.
This might be the longest one, but this is also the only one where we got kicked off. And
that is true. And yeah. So, but guys, just remember we won't be here next week either. It is Labor Day, so everybody that's on the panel, you get a day off. We're not paying you though.
And then Omar, do you want to tell us about what we got coming up when we get back? I know you lined up something great.
So yeah, when we get back, we're gonna have Justin Butler here, one of our panelists, a longtime panelist with us. He's gonna be doing a companion Raspberry Pi kind of combo introduction for you guys, how to use it, how to set it up, all to work with your Stream Decks. So this is kind of on the go. Justin, I know this put you on the spot. Do you want to say anything particular about your upcoming thing? I know you're working on it a little bit today. We talked a couple days about it. Before we wrap it up and close it out, you want to give any 2 cents on that? I see he's setting up his mic. But yeah, so if you guys are looking for that event, it's on the AV Educate page. The event is already there. The graphics are there. The information's there. Justin's already tagged in it. So is Bodie, Ed, and myself. The last I checked it before we started this, we were at about 300 people already. So It's already getting traction, and I don't think we've done anything to get it out there. But
can you put that the event link in the Facebook chat for me, Omar?
yes, sir, I can.
Great. That way everybody can flock to it right now. If you're going, so you get a reminder. That's going to be on September 14th. I just realized we didn't say the date, so that's the next time we are back with AV Tech Talks.
Yep,
Can you guys
I hear
hear
you,
me?
Justin.
Great. Yep, so we'll be talking about the Raspberry Pi running companion. That seemed to be a very popular subject before, so we'll be throwing some stuff together. I actually just put a post on there for anybody who wants to get one, put one together so they can follow along at home. 2, you don't have to. You can wait and watch. But yeah, it should be a good time.
Great. I haven't seen the event page, but there's links to where people can order a Raspberry Pi and get the companion.
Yeah, I just put a post to the kit, a kit that I've purchased myself, just in case for those who do, want to play around with it in the next couple of weeks, and then we can follow along with me. I'm going to mostly be going over the software side. All mine are already built, so I won't really be putting the physical part of it together, but we'll go over the software implementation and how to do Linux and Unix codes. Yay! Bodie will be excited.
I thought that I was going to send you a Raspberry Pi and you were going to put mine together and then have it configured and I was going to get it back. I thought that was the. Can we talk about this? I thought, am I crazy? Oh, it's sitting right there. Bodie's got it. Great.
Uh-oh.
So either way, somehow I will be putting together a Raspberry Pi on September 14th, and Justin's going to teach me how to make it work with Companion so I can use my Stream Deck and I can make my whole setup a little more streamlined. Great. So if that's that, it's late. I got work tomorrow. I hope everybody has some work tomorrow. And we will see you guys in September. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Facebook. Really appreciate it. Everybody say goodbye, and we'll see you in a few weeks. Have a great
Goodbye, Neverland.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great
Bye, guys.